Yeah, when I first started talking about it, people had never heard of it. Then they thought I was crazy in 2016. Then in 2018, they were intrigued. And now in 2020, everybody wants to be involved. I've sort of given up trying to convince the capital markets people about why this is a good idea. And I'm just focused on getting more customers into the door, right? Showing that that growth continues to be part of our plan, right? That because of that growth, we're able to drive rent growth. We have a ton of user engagement, that we are creating brand awareness and a social connectivity that's unique in the marketplace. If I can satisfy my customer and grow my customer demand, the capital markets will figure it out over time. That's the least of my concerns.
Christine here with the Co-Living Coach Show, also the founder of Kindred. Before we launch in, I want to also give a quick thank you. We are happy to bring this episode in partnership with Anyplace. With the ever-growing demand for flexible living, it's more valuable than ever to find move-in ready housing that fits your needs and without the burden of long lease. Serviced apartments and alternative options like co-living make it super easy and painless to move, relocate, or simply explore a city. And we're honored to share with you the best platform to discover unique and affordable places to live in around the world. And we just brought on another partner for the Co-Living Code Show. It is ISL Furnishings, a brand created through Interspace Living. They exist in the exciting space where design meets function. And Interspace parlayed its success in commercial grade unit furniture and conceived an elevated offering. They strongly believe in the co-living industry, and they already work with some of the larger brands like Quarters and Star City. ISL Furnishings was founded with a mission to bring your brand to life. Their goal is to revolutionize the unit furniture experience. Every venue has its own voice. They exist to clarify that voice, interpret your brand vision, and deliver superior quality on time, every time. Their website link is in the show notes. Definitely check them out. So this week we bring on another guest that's been on before, back in April 2019. It is Noah. He is CEO of the X Company. They've had some rapid growth here in the States. And so we talk about that in detail. And honestly, he has the best backdrop we've ever seen on the show. He is sitting on his boat in a marina in Chicago. It's a beautiful day. So that was really cool. You'll see that. So I will go ahead and launch right into his bio. As CEO, Noah is responsible for overseeing the growth and culture of the X Company, whose development pipeline currently spans 7 markets, over $1 billion of construction activity, and some 10,000 beds. They actually own all their buildings too, so that's impressive. And prior to the X Company, Noah was a vice president for Boulder Net Lease Funds, where he directed the acquisition efforts on net lease properties throughout the United States and managed 2 investment funds. Noah's residential real estate expertise stems from his career at Richmond American Homes, a publicly traded company, where he was a land acquisition and development manager. Born and raised on Long Island, New York, Noah attended Emory University in Atlanta, Georgia, and graduated with a Bachelors of Science degree in economics. Noah also volunteers with Big Brothers Big Sisters, Thresholds, a provider of mental health services where he sits on the real estate committee, and the Dovetail Project, an initiative designed to help at-risk adolescent fathers. So let's launch into this week's episode. And again, the link for his previous one is in our show notes. Enjoy. Okay, this week I'm bringing Noah back on. I know it's been over a year already, which is unbelievable. I think I interviewed you back when I was living in Amsterdam, and I know that then you visited Amsterdam. We went and grabbed wine, which is really cool. So yeah, he's with, and we're going to go into detail because there's been some company changes since we last talked, and there'll be a link for the interview down below. It's the X Company now. So welcome to the show, Noah.
Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
Okay, so let's kind of, catch everybody up. I know that you guys were under PMG. You guys spun off recently, not sure which month that was, as the X Company. So I would love to kind of get that backstory to catch everybody up.
Sure. Yeah, about a year ago now, the X Company, which was a business unit of Property Markets Group, sort of spun out to do its own thing, and now it's its own independent entity based out of Chicago, but with projects in Chicago, Denver, California, Arizona and Texas. Same team of people just working on different things, and really excited to continue our push towards changing the way human beings interact. So excited to be here and to talk about the next things for the X Company.
Perfect. And then and I failed to mention, for those watching on YouTube, he's got the prettiest background of probably any interview thus far. I know it's summertime. I know he's in Chicago. So yeah, explain that. This a great background.
Yeah, so I live on a boat in Chicago during the summer, and I'm currently sitting on the back in front of Soldier Field in downtown, as you guys can see. And it's a 80 degrees and sunny day today. So I'm very fortunate to be here, and to be in the situation is great. And I have some team members coming later this afternoon to work from the boat. So we're full remote working, obviously, and it's a great place to bring people together too.
Awesome. Good stuff. Cool. So then, no, I appreciate you kind of breaking up, and honestly, that was such a smart move of PMG, right? I know you guys got in the game early into co-living, hey, let's test this. Let's kind of do this subdivision underneath our brand of, the X, it was X social communities before. So now we got all this clarity on the names before we started the interview, because I'd heard kind of different things. So now it's the X Company. I know PMG held the Miami building, which is X Miami, correct? So that's under PMG's brand.
That's correct.
Cool. And then now they've rebranded as the Society for any co-living?
Yep, and they just opened a new building called Society Las Olas that's doing incredibly well, even in the face of everything that's happened with COVID. They're absolutely crushing it, and I'm super excited for them and all the success they're having in Florida.
And then okay, so that's also Miami, that second building?
It's in Fort Lauderdale.
Awesome. Okay, cool. Good stuff. And then you guys were already having rapid growth. So let's get caught up. I know last time we talked, I think it was like 10,000 beds by 2021. Just give us some numbers on beds that you guys have currently occupied, and then signed agreements. And I know you're building ground up.
Yeah, we're still working towards that goal. So we have our properties operating in Chicago. We're about to open up about 500 units and 1,000 beds in Denver. That'll be happening in the fourth quarter, first quarter, depending on how the GC wraps up our progress. And so that'll be really the first rent by bedroom or X Company building of scale in Denver. We're super excited for that. We've made major investments in our fitness programming. We've made major investments in our work from home environment. Our building in Denver, for example, will have 50 private offices, over 80 private pods to work out of. And so it's a vertical living environment that is, we're cautiously optimistic will be received very well by the marketplace, and a place where people would prefer to not leave if they don't have to, if they can do everything they need to do from a life perspective in their home. And so, it's a challenging time today. If your company slogan is "Life's better with company," right? Let's be honest and realistic about that. But once you get past the initial fear of, is my neighbor sick? A lot of people are finding that they would like to have sort of groups of people that they can count on, rely on, and spend time with. And in our building, specifically in Denver, you'll have a best-in-class work-from-home environment. And so you won't have to sit on your couch and try to take a conference call, right? You'll be able to reserve through our proprietary technology and office. You'll be able to book a fitness program that's in-house, done by our people. If you'd like personal training sessions, that's there for you too. If you'd like a drink at our rooftop bar, if you want to hang out at the pool, all of that is available to you. And so, I think last time we talked a lot about how our belief is that, when people talk about co-living and rent by the bedroom, they really focused on what happens inside the unit. And we're super focused on bringing people together outside the unit and providing lifestyle benefits and full spectrum living to people outside their unit door. And so we think in Denver specifically, as people want to get outside, they want to hang out, being able to provide all of those offerings in a single place is going to put us in a really good position to succeed.
No, and that was another question I had actually during these COVID times in your guys' beautiful common area spaces. Did you guys have to shut those down?
Yeah, I mean, listen, we're following local and CDC guidelines to a T, right? During the shelter-in-place order, when gyms were shut down, we shut down our gyms, and we're opening them responsibly with social distancing practices in place based on what's happening in local marketplaces.
Got it. And then did you, and I'm sure because a lot of other large operators had this question, Or did you guys credit any rent? Did you have some residents that were like, hey, you know, that's part of our rent, we can't access those facilities?
We definitely tried to work with everybody who was able to demonstrate any sort of hardship related with COVID. It's a really tough time for everyone. And we wanted to be responsible with the way we were managing the building, operating the building, right? The challenging thing is you have people who are working within the building and you need to respect their safety and security as well. And so it's about, yes, I'd love to keep the gym open, right? But I feel bad about asking somebody to clean it if it's a problem. And so as long as we can do things safely and responsibly and people can be reasonable about it, we're trying to work with everyone to make the best out of a challenging situation.
Got it. No, that makes perfect sense. And I know we talked about kind of the version 1.0, 2.0 on the last interview. Essentially, you guys learned like, okay, in-suite bathrooms in every unit. Okay, larger closets. How else have you guys evolved since we talked?
Yeah, listen, the 1-to-1 bed-to-bath ratio is incredibly important, especially given the current situation, right? The less surfaces that are shared, the better it would be. But I think the number one thing, and I'll just keep beating this drum because it is the main difference between what we're doing, what other people are doing, is our common areas and specifically our work from home environment, right? If you do have a remote work desire where all the time or several days of the week you're working from home, I mean, our offering is totally unparalleled in the residential rental environment. And so it totally supplants your need, for a co-working membership at some other place. And you can book things, you can cater in lunch, you can have meetings where you can send guest access codes. It's very secure, it's very safe. The internet is very fast, it's private. And so you can really depend on it and really use it for that important 11 a.m. conference call.
And yeah, so that's one evolution. I love that. So you guys said there's 50 like private offices within the building?
Correct.
Oh, cool. And then they can just book them as needed. That's so funny because I've talked about that. I imagine these tall skyscrapers where like half of it's residential, half is work, and you literally commute in an elevator. So I love that you guys are doing that already. And which building is that, the future ones? Which cities is that one in?
Well, that's sort of the program for all of our projects going forward. But the first one where that's going to happen in scale is Denver, which we're opening late fourth quarter, early first quarter. We'll start leasing for Denver in the fourth quarter. So tell your friends if they're interested. There's going to be a new great place to live. Then they'll be able to move in the first quarter.
Awesome. And then I know you guys have Oakland and California coming up. You've got Houston, Texas, and then Phoenix, Arizona, correct?
That's correct. And we're also working on some stuff in Tampa as well.
Nice. And is it all ground up, or do you guys sometimes do retrofits?
We're doing all ground up.
Nice. And that's like 3 to 4 year? How long is that taking?
Yeah, it depends on the city, but it's really just based on our program, right? We're trying to create a consistent user experience. And so to create a consistent user experience, I need to have a certain ratio of private offices to residents. To create a consistent user experience, I need to have a certain number of fitness classes per resident in each place. So when you try to retrofit buildings, it's virtually impossible to do that sort of thing. And most of the existing structures just would not be able to accommodate the scale of common areas that we're programming and planning for. And so that's why we really veer towards ground up projects.
Awesome. And then I know you talked about your guys' proprietary technology. I'd love for you to dig into that a little bit more. I know you guys said they could book a personal trainer. It sounds like there's wireless access control. Like, what are all the things that the residents can use for that tech experience?
Yeah, listen, there's a zillion different gadgets and technologies and software that people throw at customers, and they try to tell them how great it is, right? But technology in the real estate space for a really long time has been viewed as a way in which landlords and owners can make more money or do things better, right? And so we're really focused on using technology to make our customers' lives better and make their user experience better. And so that really boils down to a few basic things, right? How easily can I communicate with my community manager if I have any sort of issue, right? Or do they have to email someone? That's a little rough. Do I have to call a hotline? That's terrible, right? Do I have to text somebody privately? That's not really secure and doesn't create a record that both of us may want to rely on, right? So communication in the way that we're used to communicating today is super important. reservations, like I was saying, for, the work from home environment and for fitness and for events and classes and programming, right? If we do a lecture series on how to fund your tech startup, it should be very easy for you to register for that. You should have an event calendar attached to that. You should be able to share that with your friends who you'd like to attend, right? That makes your life materially better. And then getting in and around the building, like you said, is dependent on that access control system, right? That makes your life safe, secure, and easy. You're never worrying about losing keys, giving keys out to dog walkers. You're able to give virtual keys to your friend or to your sister who's coming to visit. And we are able to turn those things on and off, given safety and security issues. And so you create this like small, MVP, minimum viable product ecosystem around which technology really starts to move the needle on things your customers care about.
Amen. I've been preaching that with our software Kindred is like, let's make the user, the resident and guest experience really rad, because just like you said, like all software before was made just strictly for the landlord in mind. So I'm glad to see that you guys get it and have evolved. And yeah, that makes for an amazing experience when you live in a community. Like, are you really going to move down the street where they don't have any of that? Like, it's hard to readjust to a non-tech living environment. So that's cool. I like that. And then let's talk about events. So what kind of events do you guys, when you guys pre-COVID, and then maybe if you go virtual, I don't know now.
Yeah. So listen, we totally have plans to deal with events of no more than 10 people, no more than 50 people, right? Because we want to continue to provide the sort of engagement and activation that we promised our customers. We would love to do large scale events if the health situation allows us to do so, right? So we have a program in which we interact with local charities, and we allow our spaces to be the places where they host their annual gala events. So instead of spending $10,000 to rent a ballroom in a Sheraton hotel where the carpet smells like it's 50 years old, right? They can come to our rooftop for free. We can use, again, our technology to allow them to communicate with their customer, to make the reservation. It's a great thing for us to do because it brings people into the building. Our residents can participate in it. It raises the awareness of the building, and it's a good thing for the local charities. And so continuing to do more things in those vein are really important for us in 2021. And it's a great way for us to use the spaces that we're investing in.
Awesome. And then are you doing any virtual events right now?
We're not really. I think the internet is very good at virtual events, virtual training, right? Like if one of my customers wants to take a Pilates class, there's a million options for them to choose from. I don't really think that it's worth our time and their time to try to push that out to them. So we're not doing a lot of those things that some of the other people are, just because I don't think we're going to be better at it than other people. And so we're really focused on doing things that are proprietary, unique, and value creating for our customers that they can't get with an easy Google search, right? And so if you can take a yoga class on YouTube and there's 100 different ones for you to choose from, that's not really us providing value, right? If we bring a yoga studio onto our deck and you can participate in an in-person class around which there are 40 people socially distanced, right, all having a good time, that's us providing value to our customers. So it's materially different, and we focus on that sort of thing.
Makes sense. Yeah, YouTube has been my best friend through this quarantine. I've done so many yoga classes, meditation. Yeah, I think I would die without YouTube right now. So that's a very good point. They could just search and do that. And then prior to COVID, I know you guys did, I think, some rooftop yoga. Like, what other events did you guys used to do?
Yeah, we did all those things. We did concerts, we did comedy shows, we did, beer tastings, wine tastings. We did lecture series on like tech startups and that sort of thing, and like being an entrepreneur. Really trying to do things that our customers are interested in. So we will frequently communicate with our customers to try to get a gauge and handle on what they're interested in doing or participating in, and we'll try to curate that experience for them as often as possible.
And I don't know if you know this number off the top of your head, but like what percentage of residents were like showing up to these events?
We have a very high engagement rate. Like almost all of our residents at some point will show up to an event, and we're actively trying to figure out because we know through our access control system, right, in the registration process, who is and is not participating in events. And as a property owner, I care about the people who are not showing up just as much as I do about the people who are. Because if you're not showing up, you're much more likely to move on, right? Because we're not providing you what you're looking for and are very interested in participating. And so we have methods and processes around which we can interact with that customer as well to understand why they're not doing something. And most of the time it's pretty basic, right? It's like, I'm not into yoga. Stop doing yoga classes if you want me to come on your deck. And that makes total sense, right? So you got to find out what they're interested in, make sure that what they are interested in overlaps with a large sample set of your customer, and try to provide that for them so that they come next time.
Awesome. No, that makes sense. That's great that you guys have high engagement. I love hearing that. Again, everybody listening, that's another way to keep your property full, is that you have rad events, and then they invite their friends to the events, and then you even get more residents. And they're not going to leave, right? If they have friends there, if they love the events, if there's a social network, there's no reason to move out, even for cheaper rent. It wouldn't make sense. So that's cool. And then the back to numbers, I had some notes here. So like, what do you guys, like all these cities we just named, how many beds in pipeline under contract?
Well, under development in Denver, we have over 1,700 beds, with the first 1,000 opening in the first and second quarter of next year. In Oakland, we have 300 beds in a 110 unit project there. In Texas, our project in Houston is around 400 units and around 750 beds. And Tampa is the same, and Phoenix is a little bit larger than both of those.
Impressive. You have them all memorized. Yeah. That's great.
Yeah.
Good stuff. And then let's see here. I would love to hear, what has been the biggest highlights and wins since we last spoke?
Really just continuing to better understand our customer and focus our organization on the customer and the user experience, right? Like that is the real mental shift for us as an organization, that like we need to be doing whatever we can to ensure that we're providing our customer with what they need and want. That's really challenging for a real estate organization who's worked in a particular way for a long time. And so we're investing very heavily in our team, right? Because our team is our customer, right? I'm 37, I'm the oldest person within the organization. And so we have a representative sample set of people that we can continue to work through and iterate to engage with our customer and just keep making our product better. That's everything from the way that we design our spaces to private versus, regular tables and co-working space, to dimensions of a fitness room, right? So that you can get 3 yoga mats deep, right? Instead of just 2. And then continuing to work with our customer and engage with our customers so that we understand what we're doing right and not just guessing in the dark.
Got it. And then it's probably going to be COVID, but what's been on the challenging side since we've talked?
Listen, from a physical product standpoint and the way in which our buildings are operating, that has the normal COVID challenges that you'd expect, but I don't think anything that we're doing is unique in that way. Generally speaking, the most challenging thing today in today's universe is the capital markets associated with all real estate development, right? I think people are still, especially in the United States, cautious about how much they're going to invest, where they're going to invest, and in what way. And so as that continues to work through its system and the equity markets and the debt markets continue to get more and more dislocated, I'd see that's as the challenge for real estate generally, not necessarily our business model. I think our business model is very unique and proprietary in the sense that it's less risky now than it was yesterday, right? I think if you were building a traditional apartment building, trying to get the most expensive rents for the nicest unit in a city, that looks like really, really scary right now. I think now more than ever, people need value in their home. And so if you can provide a suite of services like a best-in-class apartment, right, that has its own bathroom, large closet space, but also comes with fitness, work from home, and a rooftop bar and pool, that's a value that will really resonate with people in a situation in which, the economy is tough and the horizon is not as rosy as maybe it was a year ago.
No, good point, especially with the capital markets, because there hasn't really been a big event financially yet. I know there was a refi done in the co-living space, but there hasn't been, an exit. So it's still, I think once that happens, then even more, investors will pile in to co-living as a sector. So yeah, that makes sense also. And like you said, it was scary back, a while back getting into this industry, because you guys started in what year for X?
2014.
Oh yeah, okay. So everybody, yeah, most people didn't even know what co-living was back then. So bravo
Yeah.
for you guys going early, right? Being the pioneers. So was it hard back then?
Yeah, when I first started talking about it, people had never heard of it. Then they thought I was crazy in 2016. Then in 2018, they were intrigued. And now in 2020, everybody wants to be involved. I've sort of given up trying to convince the capital markets people about why this is a good idea. And I'm just focused on getting more customers into the door, right? Showing that that growth continues to be part of our plan, right? That because of that growth, we're able to drive rent growth. We have a ton of user engagement, that we are creating brand awareness and a social connectivity that's unique in the marketplace. If I can satisfy my customer and grow my customer demand, the capital markets will figure it out over time. That's the least of my concerns. I'm much more concerned about focusing on making my customer happy.
Awesome, as it should be. That's great. And then
Yeah, yeah,
do you guys own all the buildings?
yeah. We own the buildings.
Cool. Awesome. That's helpful too. And then let's see, let's find out. Let me ask this next question. So what would be, without naming any names, do you have any concerns about how some co-living concepts are currently operating?
Uh, yes, I think this idea that the key to success in co-living is to be the cheapest possible option for housing uh, is wrong, right? If you're the cheapest housing option, but you're also underwriting rent growth, I don't see how those two things coexist, right? If you're the cheapest housing option because you're asking people to sacrifice on their living environment, then as soon as they can afford to change that mindset, they will move out, right? And so I think the biggest difference between what we're doing and some other people are doing is we're not focused on being the lowest price bunk bed option in the marketplace. There's a place for that. There's a market segment for that. That's not what we're doing. We're focused on being the value proposition in the marketplace, the best location, the nicest building anybody's ever seen in the marketplace, but at attainable price points.
Ooh, good point. Nobody said that yet. And no, you're exactly right. It's going to be, and even in these days, people are worried about comparing, like that people are going to compare on price now because of what's happening to the economy. And I don't think that's true at all, right? I think that's not an ideal client if they only care about the price of their rent
Well,
versus community.
it's a factor. Like let's not be ignorant and say that price is not a factor, and maybe even the biggest factor, but it's not necessarily the deciding factor. And it's not something that's a sustainable factor as you start thinking about like the lifetime value of your customer, right? Like if you're only winning on price today, you're going to lose on price tomorrow, right? That's like the only thing we know for sure, right? And so that becomes unsustainable unless your whole business model is just predicated on being able to churn through people over and over and over again, which is really, really challenging.
And then you have the property, like remind me again, your background, like how many years of property management do you have total?
So we don't do property management, right? We do development, we do asset management, and then our property managers white label their services. So for our customer, it has an X Company email address, but the people who they're getting the email from, their paychecks come from the property management firm. So we rely on existing property management software processes and large national organizations to fix the toilets and to provide the rent notifications as needed. But we're very heavy on the asset management side. And for us, that means everything that happens before you show up and become our customer and interact with us on the internet or through social media, the way in which our technology works, again, to manage your life once you live in the building. So that's all proprietary to us. We're very involved in the hiring of those people, but we're not a property management company. And then my team and our company organizationally was a real estate investment and development firm. So unlike some others in the space who came from a technology background or an opco background and aren't on the real estate ownership side, we are real estate owners and investors and developers first, who recognize the importance of a user experience to create and help the underlying value of the real estate itself.
Oh, we didn't even talk about that in the last interview. Okay, so you guys essentially outsource the property management side.
Yes. So people who work for the X Company are not the individuals who, again, like fix the toilets, right? Or turn an apartment. But the technology that those people use to interface with the customer is owned and managed by us.
Got it. Cool. And then they just charge, so it's just a management fee is what you guys pay them.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
Cool. Oh, super interesting. And then let's see here. What are some of your favorite co-living brands currently in the world? And what do you like most about what they're doing?
I think there are a couple of companies that are really focusing on the intersection of profit and purpose. And I think that's really interesting to think about, right? That like there is this win-win that exists in the marketplace. And if you focus on that, you can grow and sustain over time. I don't like to talk about what my competitors are and are not doing. I think there's room for everybody to succeed. I think there's some cautionary tales, right? Like one thing that's proven to be true is that you cannot sign long-term liabilities through master leases, hope to sell those in smaller chunks and make money. Like whether you're WeWork or whether you're a co-living company trying to grow your brand by doing that, it's not about if, it's just about when you're going to fail, right? And so either you have to do management fee deals for your brand, which a lot of people are trying to do, but that makes it harder to grow. Or you have to be the developer, owner, investor like we are and put your flag as sort of a leverage point to the underlying real estate, and hopefully a brand and a company can come out of that at the opco level. But if you go from the other direction, it's really hard, and a lot of those groups are not going to survive. And you're seeing that in the short-term rental business too, right? These companies that try to take out hotels they're not going to make it.
No, we've talked about that a lot on the show already, and especially recently. You're exactly right. The master lease model. I mean, for some operators, it was the only way they could get started. Okay, great. And then they started converting over to profit sharing or management fee. But they're really hurting now, and they're literally trying to switch those out, and it's really hard, right? You're exactly right. And it's the WeWork model too, right? Master leasing and taking the liability. And it's great when you're 100% occupied, but if not, then it becomes a real big problem. So I'm glad you talked about that. So 2 more questions. First is, what's in the future for you guys?
We're going to continue to invest in the markets in which we have projects. I think if we would have talked 2 years ago, I would have told you we'd try to be in 20 different cities. I think we're more interested in having 30 buildings in 5 cities than we are 1 building in 30 cities. And in doing so, create a network of properties around which we can manage more effectively. Our customers can share around amongst the city the different amenities that are in each building and the different programming in each building, and really create a community within each community. So I'd say that's a little bit of a pivot for us as an organization in terms of a strategy, and something we're super focused on for 2021. And then, we're opening our first big building, our first, real version of what our dream is. And that's super exciting. Everybody in our organization is going to move out to Denver and be there when the building opens. And so we're calling it X Goes West. And so we're all going to get in our cars and go out there for the first 2 months while the building opens and work from the co-working spaces, live in the units, test out the furnishings, work out in the fitness classes. So super excited about that from an organizational and culture perspective as well.
Oh, including you. You're leaving Chicago for a couple months?
Including me. I'll be there for January through February, maybe in a little bit of March too.
Awesome. Oh, that's great. I love that you guys are doing that. That's rad. Okay, Noah. So last question is, what's one piece of advice for anyone watching or listening to the show that is a current operator or that's thinking about getting into co-living, or whether that's small scale or large scale?
The advice I always have for people is the more you learn and understand about your business, the more you learn to understand that nobody knows anything, right? And so have your opinions, have your convictions, understand why you possess those, and just go forward with what you're thinking. Don't think, and then never do something. Just go and do it, and that'll serve you better. And learn, it's much better to learn from others' mistakes than your own, but don't be afraid to make mistakes and go.
Good advice, Noah. That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. I want you to spend the rest of the afternoon enjoying the weather out there in Chicago, a great city. Hopefully, maybe I'll come and visit you guys in Denver when you guys open up early next year. That would be awesome. Catch up again.
Yeah, we'd love to have you anytime.
Awesome. Okay, thanks again, Noah.
All right, bye guys. Bye everybody.
Bye. Thank you so much for checking out today's episode. If you want to learn more about co-living, you could check out my book on Amazon, The Co-Living Code. And of course, if you're looking for the perfect software to power your co-living concept, check out kindred.io, KNDRD.io. And another quick thank you for our partner Anyplace. They make it easy to book a flexible, fully furnished accommodation anywhere around the world, whether it's an apartment, co-living space, or hotel. Check them out at anyplace.com. And also ISL Furnishings. Trust your unit interiors to ISL Furnishings. They bring light to your vision.